So text 28, chapter 1, canto, canto 1, chapter 3, text 28. Canto 1, chapter 3, text 28. This is a key verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ete cha amsha kala pumsa Krishna who Bhagavan Swayam Indra Ari Yakulam Lokam Vidyanti Yuge Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vidyanti Yuge Yuge Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vidyanti Yuge Yuge Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vidyanti Yuge Yuge
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Yakulam Lokam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam
Vidyanti Yuge Yuge
Vidyanti Yuge Yuge
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Bhagavan Swayam
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Yakulam Lokam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam
Vidyanti Yuge
Vidyanti Yuge Yuge
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vidyanti Yuge Yuge
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Indriya Vyakulam Lokam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam
Vidyanti Yuge Yuge
Vidyanti Yuge Yuge. Online, if you'd like to recite.
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam
Vridayanti Yuge Yuge
Vidyanti Yuge Yuge
Ete Kamsa Kala Pumsa
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Indriyari Vyakulam Lokam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam
Nidayanti Yuge Yuge
Vidyanti Yuge Yuge
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam
Indrari Vyakulam Lokam.
Vridayanti yuge yuge.
Vidyanti Yuge Yuge. Ete, all these, Cha, and Amsha, plenary portions. Kala, portions of the plenary portions. Pumsa, of the Supreme. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Two, but Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Svayam, in person. Indra Ari, the enemies of Indra. Vyakulam, disturbed. Lokam, all the planets. Vidyanti, gives protection. Yuge, yuge, different ages. Translation. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. So just for some context, so in the 27 verses before this chapter, Sri Sutta Goswami, narrated by Srila Vyasadeva, describes in brief like 25 of the major avatars, 25 of the major incarnations. And now he's making it clear. Okay, Ete Chamsa Kalapumsa, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the source of all incarnations. It's not that Vishnu is the source of Krishna, or Nrsimhadev is the source of Krishna. Krishna is the source of all incarnation. This is a very key verse. So Srila Prabhupada's purport, let us focus in and listen closely. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In this particular stanza, Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is distinguished from other incarnations. He is counted amongst the avatars, incarnations, because out of his causeless mercy, the Lord descends from his transcendental abode. And today's the anniversary of that descension, about 5,200 years ago. Avatar means avatar means one who descends. All the incarnations of the Lord, including the Lord himself, descend on the different planets of the material world, as also in different species of life, to fulfill particular missions. Sometimes he comes himself, and sometimes his different plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions, or his differentiated portions, directly or indirectly empowered by him, descend on this material world to execute certain specific functions. Originally, the Lord is full of all opulences, all prowess, all fames, beauty, all beauties, all knowledge, and all renunciations. When they are partly manifested through the plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions, it should be noted that certain manifestations of his different powers are required for those particular functions. When in the room small electric bulbs are displayed, it does not mean that the electric powerhouse is limited by the small bulbs. The same powerhouse can supply power to operate large-scale industrial dynamos with greater volts. Similarly, the incarnations of the Lord display limited powers because so much power is needed at that particular time. For example, Lord Parashuram and Lord Nrsimha displayed unusual opulence by killing the disobedient Kshatriyas 21 times and killing the greatly powerful atheist Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful that even the demigods and other planets would tremble simply by the unfavorable raising of his eyebrow. The demigods in the higher level of material existence many times excel the most well-to-do human beings in duration of life, beauty, wealth, paraphernalia, and in all other respects. Still, they were afraid of Hiranyakashipu. Thus, we can simply imagine how powerful Hiranyakashipu was in this material world. But even Hiranyakashipu was cut into small pieces by the nails of Lord Nrsimha. This means that anyone materially powerful cannot stand the strength of the Lord's nails. Similarly, Jamadagnya displayed the Lord's power to kill all the disobedient kings powerfully situated in their respective states. The Lord's empowered incarnation Narada and plenary incarnation Varaha, as well as indirectly empowered Lord Buddha, created faith in the mass of people. The incarnations of Rama and Dhanvantari displayed his fame, and Balaram, Mohini, and Vamana exhibited his beauty. Dattatreya, Matsya, Kumar, and Kapila exhibited his transcendental knowledge. Nara and Narayana Rishis exhibited his renunciation. So all the different incarnations of the Lord indirectly or directly manifested different features. But Lord Krishna, the primeval Lord, exhibited the complete features of Godhead, and thus it is confirmed that he is the source of all other incarnations. And the most extraordinary feature exhibited by Lord Sri Krishna was his internal energetic manifestation of his pastimes with the cowherd girls. His pastimes with the gopis are all displays of transcendental existence, bliss, and knowledge, although these are manifested apparently as sex love. The specific attraction of his pastimes with the gopis should never be misunderstood. The Bhagavatam relates these transcendental pastimes in the 10th canto. And in order to reach the position to understand the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, the Bhagavatam promotes the student gradually in 9 other cantos. According to Srila Jiva Goswami's statement, in accordance with authoritative sources, Lord Krishna is the source of all other incarnations. It is not that Lord Krishna has any source of incarnation. All the symptoms of the supreme truth in full are present in the person of Lord Sri Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord emphatically declares that there is no truth greater than or equal to himself. In this stanza, the word Svayam is particularly mentioned to confirm that Lord Krishna has no other source than himself. Although in other places, the incarnations are described as Bhagavan because of their specific functions. Nowhere are they declared to be the Supreme Personality. In this stanza, the word Svayam signifies the supremacy as the supreme, as the summum bonum. The summum bonum, Krishna, is one without a second. He himself has expanded himself in various parts, portions, and particles as Svayam Rupa, Svayam Prakash, Tad Ekatma, Prabhava, Vaibhava, Vilas, Avatar, Avesh, and Jivas, all provided with innumerable energies just suitable to the respective persons and personalities. Learned scholars and transcendental subjects have carefully analyzed the summum bonum Krishna to have 64 principal attributes. All the expansions or categories of the Lord possess only some percentages of these attributes. But Sri Krishna is the possessor of the attribute sent person, and his personal expansions such as Svayam Prakash, Tade Katma, up to the categories of the avatars, who are all Vishnu Tattva, possess up to 93% of these transcendental attributes. Very quantitative. Lord Shiva, who is neither avatar nor Avesh nor in between them, possesses almost 84% of the attributes. But the jivas, or the individual living beings in different statuses of life, possess up to the limit of 78% of the attributes. In the conditioned state of material existence, the living being possesses these attributes in very minute quantity, varying in terms of the pious life of the living being. The most perfect of living beings is Brahma, the supreme administrator of one universe. He possesses 78% of the attributes in full. All other demigods have the same attributes in less quantity, whereas human beings possess the attributes in very minute quantity. The standard of perfection for a human being is to develop the attributes up to 78% in full. The living being can never possess attributes like Shiva, Vishnu, or Lord Krishna. A living being can become godly by developing the 78% transcendental attributes in fullness, but he can never become a god like Shiva, Vishnu, or Krishna. So Prabhupada makes an important distinction there, that our goal in Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness, is not to become God, because in many past the idea is to realize your God, not to become God, rather to become godly. And this describes the process. So Prabhupada continues, he can become a Brahma in due course. The godly living beings who are all residents of the planets in the spiritual sky are eternal associates of God in different planets called Haridam and Maheshdam. The abode of Lord Krishna above all spiritual planets is called Krishna Loka or Goloka Vrindavan, and the perfected living being, by developing 78% of the above attributes in fullness, can enter the planet of Krishna Loka after leaving the present material body. Om Ganatmirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Upam Sagrajatam Saganaraganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadve Tam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpata Yubhyashta Vipa Sindhu Pyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 Chapter 3 Text 28 Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Vidyanti Yuge Yuge. All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheist. The Lord incarnates to protect the theist. Okay. So, okay. So the Vedas are authoritative. And so the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, these are most authoritative. That's why Prabhupada gave us Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's not just, he could have given us any, and he happened to give us, these are the most authoritative. So what's, okay, because most of the Vedas, different examples. It's just like Prabhupada mentions the incarnation of Buddha, who's like not in a Vedic tradition, but he's an incarnation of Krishna. And he came to mislead us, to bring us back to truth. It's like a little complicated, okay? Sometimes following Prabhupada's example, we'll give an example like in the second grade, teacher beginning to teach subtraction might say like, okay, so you can never subtract, you can never subtract a larger number from a smaller number. Okay, you can only subtract a smaller number from a larger number. Okay, but then maybe when they get to, let's say, like third grade or fourth grade, I don't know, whatever year, you get to negative numbers. You say, okay, so now there's something called negative numbers. Okay, and so actually, you can subtract 5 from 3, and you get something called -2. So the student or the parent could say, in first grade, you lied to my child. Could say that, you can, that's immoral, that's unethical. What's that?
It's you.
Okay. Yeah, they say like, just like if we tried like at 5 years old if we try to go now, something called negative numbers. Okay, then just like you're just not going to get subtraction at all. So we're meeting people where they're at. Or let's say so most of the Vedas are like that. Most of the Vedas are like that. Okay. Or let's say okay, it's another child example. Okay, so let's say child has some illness or some sick. Okay, and so then child doesn't want to take the medicine. Okay, so then you wrap it in something sweet. You go, look, here comes the airplane. Open your mouth to catch the airplane. And okay, so like in other words, like the goal is that you get to eat sweets. It gets, but actually, so again, you can say you're deceiving the child. You're really doing it to give the medicine. You're deceiving. So
Yes, you are.
so you can say, yes, you are. So most of the Vedas are like that. Most of the Vedas are like, here's the airplane, the sweet. No, really, most of the Vedas are like that to get us some, some medicine. Most of the Vedas, you can't subtract bigger numbers from smaller. It's meeting us where we're at. So you have Vedas that say heavenly planets. Woo. No, that's the goal. Or Shiva is supreme, and it's there for a reason. It's there for a reason, and the reason ultimately is to bring us to Ete Chamsa Klapumsa Krishna's to Bhagavan's fire. To understand that Krishna is the source of everything. It's to bring us to Krishna consciousness. And many times, Paul and Prabhupada, we discussed the story of Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva, he gave all those Vedas and all of the little pills wrapped in sweets and things like that. And then he's not satisfied because he could see like people won't get out of compassion. Like I really want people to be blissful. And that comes from Krishna consciousness. That comes from Krishna consciousness, and people aren't going to get that. So Anarto Pashamam Sakshat Bhakti Yogam and Hokshije Lokasya Janatadvi Bam Chakre Satvata Samhitam. So as a result, you could see there's all these anartas. And that really, because like it's quite a purport, right? It's a quite the purport. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. Welcome, Subal, Hari Bol. So, so probably gets into the 78%, and that this and that is very quantitative. So that's like self-realization, right? Like self-actualization, to use Maslow's term, or discover your full self. The personal growth, human potential. So that translates here as to realize in full shining radiance our full 78%. And so we use that there's the blank slate approach and there's the diamond approach. So Bhagavatam, it's like at the core we're not nothing. At the core we're the spirit soul that possesses 78% of the qualities of the Supreme Personality of God. Those are described in detail in Nectar of Devotion and other places in Prabhupada's writing. And okay, great. So to the extent that we're not fully radiating that 78%, then it means we've allowed our diamond to get covered by lower modes of nature or materially tinged sattva, by rajas and tamas. And right. And so the process of transformation, it's a process of uncovering. So it's very key. So again, because like you can go to so many like yoga, this, that, or the great oneness, the great Brahman, or can you do this posture, this, and hold my nose, or okay, so like it all comes from the Vedas. And then this verse, so the Bhagavatam is the most authoritative because the Vedas are compiled by who? By Srila Vyasadeva. So then he gives us the Bhagavatam to see like
here's the point of all of it. Here's the, not just the, here's the goal. That Krishna's the goal of all the Vedas. Krishna is the source of all of it. Krishna is the substratum of all existence. We start every class with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So where do we find that? Where do we find that line? Quiz. Where do we find Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya?
First verse in the Bible.
Yeah.
511.
Yeah. You're saying she knows.
Put it in the book.
Put the book. Yeah. Right. Okay. So Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses. And the first line in the first verse is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now that verse closely relates to the verse we're reading today. So I'm going to read that verse given to us by Vyasadeva, because again, so after compiling all the Veda, the Upanishads and the Skanda Purana and et cetera, Ramayana. Well, the Ramayana comes from Valmiki. Most of the Vedas come from yes. So he gave us the Bhagavatam to get it. And this verse that we're reading today, this could be considered the quintessential Vedic verse. This verse that we're reading today, so important. Ete Chamsa Klapumsa Krishna's to Bhagavan Swami. This is a verse to imbibe. So the first verse of Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So that the translation of that Prabhupada gives us, O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, all-pervading personality of Godhead, offer my obeisances unto you. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, all-pervading personality of Godhead, offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Okay. Janmadhyasya Tun Bayadi Tirtash Tirteshva Vigas Varatini Brahma Vidayadi Kavye Muyanti Atsuraya Tejo Vari Vidam Yatavini Mayo Yatra Tri Sargo Misha Damnas famous Adari Rasto Kamsacham Param Dimahi. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of God, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universe. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. So Vyasadeva is establishing in the first verse, same word here. We have in the first line the word svara, similar to svayam. Krishna is independent. There, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigara Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakaranakana. That Krishna is the source of all incarnations, the source of all energies, and he has no source. He has no source. He is self-manifest. And so starting with Krishna right here, first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is independent, Svarat, because there is no other cause beyond him. So that's the foundation of this verse we're reading today. Krishna is the source of all incarnation. So this work, so like we're getting, yeah, well, okay, we can celebrate Krishna Supreme or Shiva. We could celebrate ourselves as supreme.
Whatever works.
Whatever works. We could celebrate the great nothingness as supreme.
Whatever works is all important.
Yeah. So here we're establishing, well, what's our source of knowledge? Right, our source of knowledge, our source of knowing that which is beyond the material senses. So you say the Vedas, at the same time, there's different levels of authority in the Vedas, according to Vyasadeva himself. And so like Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about like incarnations like Nrsingadev. Okay, right, powerful, Lord Parashuram, all sorts of incarnations. And the source of it all, the substratum of existence, right? So to get to glorify, to celebrate, to serve, the very source of our source, that's living deeply. Everything else is called anartha, superfluous, superficial. Everything. So this was Krishna's even Sarvasya Chaham's Release Nivistu. He's the source of the super soul itself. We're the jiva, that's us. The jiva is really a part of the super soul, the Paramatma. And Krishna is the source of super soul. So this is deep living. And so the summum bonum and the substratum of all existence is a teenager dancing. Of course, not an ordinary teenager, but that's it. Like this is a far out conception, because there's God and His mightiness, even the incarnations and defeating the Kshatriyas and Hiranyakashipu, like Krishna, the supreme enjoyer. Krishna, the supreme enjoyer. Also supreme power, right? Because we all want to enjoy. We all want to enjoy. That's our nature. It's our nature to enjoy. And so here, so it's described Jivara Sarupa Hori Krishnera Nichidas Krishnera Tatasta Shakti Beta Prakash. Our nature is to enjoy. Our nature is to enjoy. How to enjoy. So this is like a formula. The extent that we give ourselves to please Krishna, then ironically, then we enjoy. It's our nature to be blissful. No, spiritual life means now be miserable. No, our nature is to be blissful. We give ourselves to serve Krishna, to serve Krishna in His enjoyment, then we're happy like anything. And that's a happiness that's never destroyed by time. You know, never annihilated by time. To that security, the service to Krishna. And Prabhupada's making. So Prabhupada said, he says the specific track, so he talks about Krishna's dancing with the gopis, which is that gets to like Krishna is the enjoyer. And he goes, it's manifested apparently in sex love. The specific attraction of his pastime with the gopis should never be misunderstood. So it's a rigorous process. We can say, oh, okay, yeah. So I'll just serve Krishna and be happy. Okay. But then it's still like, you know, we talked about like the dust, the dirt, the mud on the diamond. So how much? So that's like different forms of like, I want to be the sin, meaning not I, like my false conception of I am this body and I am this false ego. I'm the David Wolf character, the false ego, the material mind, and this whole virtual reality character. That should be the center of enjoyment. And really the main problem in the world is not everyone accepts that. That's the main problem, and I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to fix, like, everyone gets like the whole, you know, David Wolf's enjoyment and David Wolf's, you know, the David Wolf God project, and everyone should be celebrating. That should be the center. And I'm what's that? Yeah. And so no, that's the problem. No, like if everyone just got that, like the world would be a happy place. So I'm still trying to fix it. So that's everyone's God project, and but probably gives the example of like if there's ripples, right? And if there's a pond, and we all throw our stones. Our stones are different God projects. We all throw our stones, and then there's all this discordance between the ripples. Okay, you relate with that analogy. It's just, yeah, like
the world we live in.
that's the world we live in. That's it. I'm right. I'm the center. Okay, or I'll be right by saying, okay, you're right, you have it your way, and then I get to be the center because I'm the most mature or something like that. Okay, so right, so then Prabhupada's emphasizing, okay, no, let's all throw our pebbles with the same center. with Krishna in the center, then there's a resonance and there's a power. It's not discord. And that's the nature of the whole. So Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sajja Kabunat, Jagannath Shuddha Chitta Kalyani. So love of Krishna is naturally situated within the hearts of all living entities. It's not something artificial. It needs to be done from some external source. And it's awakened by this hearing and chanting. It's awakened by this hearing and chanting. So, yeah, so special day. So that's the nature of the soul. At every moment to do eternally, to Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevam. And Krishna says, what's he say? Nacha tasma manusheshu kashchame priyakritama bhavitana chame tasman anya priyataro bhuvi. Krishna says, one who shares this love of Krishna, to right? There's Harinam today, sharing. One who shares this is most dear to me. There will never be a servant more dear to me than one who gives themselves to sharing this knowledge, this sublime vibration. And so Prabhupada's saying, kind of like the center that Krishna's enjoyment, rasa dance, the center of Prabhupada's making clear. It's like it's a rigorous process. It's not a cheap thing. It's not a cheap thing to rigorously go through the 9 cantos, starting with, because like today, it would have been wonderful. We could have read from the rasa dance chapters. Instead, I wouldn't be surprised if said some other Janmastamis I read this verse too. It's such a quintessential verse of Bhagavatam. And so Pope's saying that requires that we're pulling the weeds, we're clearing the anarthas, so that we have our full shining selves available to give to service to Krishna. We often give the example of Srila Prabhupada getting on the Jaladuta. Srila Prabhupada getting on the Jaladuta as that's the Gopi Bhav. He's serving the rasa dance. So we learn how to, it certainly means he's like bringing people to Krishna, bringing people to Sri Sri Radha Krishna. And so we learn how to rediscover ourselves as servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, by serving one who's expert at it, Okay, just like, right? Someone's expert at physics. Okay, we go to him to learn physics. Someone's expert at piano. Okay, so you're someone who's expert at manifesting the full self-realization, full self-actualization, which comes. So it's like Mamshyo Vyabhicharine Bhakti Yogina Sevate Sagunan Sumati Yadan Brahma Bhuyaya Kapate. Krishna says, one is fully serving me, one is serving God. Automatically all the good qualities manifest. No separate endeavors required. Automatically one is transcendental to tamas and rajas. There's a similar verse in the Bhagavatam. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavat yakinchana sarver gunes tatra samasate sara harava bhakti se kuto mahatguna manoratena sati davatobai. That a devotee naturally has all of those 78% qualities in full. At the same time, that can lead to what's become popularly known as the spiritual bypass. Okay? Because like I say, we're chanting Hare Krishna, doing Bhakti Yoga. And then it's like chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. It's the most powerful force in creation. So part of that power will be that our junk comes up. That's part of the power. So we think, oh, the junk's coming up. The process isn't working. No, it means the process is working. And then there could be a tendency to push it down. No, I'm spiritual. I don't have this lust, bitterness, greed, boredom. No, like that. And then, right, and then the weeds grow. So part of our process of bhakti, is to honestly and courageously in ourselves and in association with others to notice this is dust on the diamond. This is a weed, it's not actually a pretty flower. And to pull the weeds, otherwise the weeds will strangle the flowers. Okay, let's see. Prabhupada, he shares some technical things here. He writes, Krishna himself expanded himself in various parts, portions, and particles of Svayam Rupa, Svayam Prakash, Tade Katma Prabhava, Vaibhava, Vilas, Avatar. So, any questions about that? Don't ask me. And it's something like it appears a lot in different places in Prabhupada's teachings. Nectar of Devotion, teaching of Lord Chaitanya. We're coming up to that part, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's but for me it's just impressive that just like there's such an intricate science of God, such an intricate science of God. And there's a part of me that like the next time I read details about, what is the Vaibhav, what is Prabhupada, to endeavor to absorb it more and hear what Prabhupada said. But this is science of God, science of love of God, science of self-realization. And so this chapter, Molly and I, we were talking recently how sometimes like Prabhupada gives the title of the chapter based on kind of what's at the end of the chapter. And so here, this is after all the incarnations. This one verse is the title of the chapter. Krishna is the source of all incarnations, coming after other descriptions. So so I chose to focus here on how come we celebrate Sri Krsna Janmastami. Again, I know I think Melanie, you're leading a reading group later today. I imagine you'll read maybe about from Krishna book, the appearance, or like that. So it's a special day to read from Krishna book, different pastimes of Krishna. So this is a key verse about, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Maharshinam Chasarvasha Ahamadirhi Devana. He says, I'm the source of the demigod. I'm the source of Shiva. I'm the source of Brahma. I'm the source of the sages. So like this, the unique, distinctive specialness of Sri Krishna. Thanks for listening. Sri Krsna Janmastami Ki Jai. Appearance day of Sri Krishna Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. I welcome if anyone would like to share any comments or questions or realizations at this time.
I like that you said that the Hare Krishna Mahamatra is the most powerful force in creation.
Yeah. That struck you somehow.
Yeah, I don't really have a question. I like that you said that. And because a lot of people believe in like other like putting cinnamon around the border of your property in order to protect you, or maybe not cinnamon, but
whatever it is,
something like maybe it's a cayenne pepper,
right,
to protect yourself. There's all kinds of rituals and things to try to make things happen in the world. But I don't know, it's like, I just like the idea of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra being the most powerful force.
Yeah.
So you can transform into any situation.
Any situation.
You can transform, so it's like that's exciting and fascinating.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Again, doesn't mean necessarily we won't do other things. We have trust in them or whatever. At the same time, like, we're encouraged, like, okay, whatever we do, make the foundation chanting Hare Krishna, most powerful force in creation. Thank you.
Just want to comment on what you said, because a few days ago I held a class on Nectar of Devotion from Srila Prabhupada, and it was like going on and on, like, so you can be asked if you are breathe in a certain way and put your body in a certain way, and do very difficult exercise and be in a cold, very cold, or in a very hard place, or like he was just describing again and again what so many people do. They are told that will lead them to spiritual enlightenment. And we say, well, we should say Chana and Krishna, but he said, no, that's not going to work. Only the heart things work. So that's what Sri Prabhupada was saying. It's the same thing. We try to make it so complicated, and I'm going to put all that on my land, and I'm going to
Like
do that,
special
and complicated and complex, and that's going to work if it's special, complicated, and complex and expensive. But something that's simple and free, no way, not going to work. So Prabhupada was saying that it's like the most powerful force in the universe.
Yeah, and maybe it's not limited to the mantra, it's just the names of God, like any name of God. That's the most powerful force that we have like access to. We're looking for power. Yeah,
To glorify, second one, to glorify everyone.
glorifying the Lord, even just saying his name, even if you're not feeling like worshiping God, but if you say any name of God, then there's some potency and transformation.
Like Prabhupada was saying, goodbye, God be with you. And if we say God be with you, many times we say goodbye. That's already so much devotional service right now. All day, God be with you.
Reminded often Prabhupada would say he's imploring, like, he said, it doesn't cost anything. Chant Hare Krishna. There's no tax. Doesn't cost anything. And like,
No, we don't want it.
it's
So it's difficult, complex, complicated, and expensive. And then we very rich.
Really difficult to update.
It's so difficult to obtain. You need to be a pretzel or something like that.
Thank you, Malini and Damayanti. Garuda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, for the class. I was thinking just in connection to your conversation, like Prahlad's mood, just meditating on Krishna. And that was all the protection that he needed from his onslaught of attacks. And so, but I wanted to share something that came up for me when you were sharing about our God projects.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, like, the different ages, like the theme of each different age. Like, I don't know the names of all ages, I forget them, but I know that there's a spectrum of like ages where like everyone's like focused on like Krishna and serving Krishna.
Yeah.
Krishna's like the center. And then we're in Kali Yuga, we're at the opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah.
Going further and further into it. And we can see how, like, in America especially, we can see how, how it's like more and more taking God out of the picture, and schools and education and just, culture in general, music and everything. And so I was thinking about, like, just looking at that, like, and then looking at my own life, like taking a look at, like, okay, what happens in different ages when people are focused on different things, their own God projects or God themselves, and then my own personal life of like, what manifests in my life when I take God out, when I include God.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like thinking about that this morning when you were sharing about the God project. And then another question I had was, like, so I was thinking this morning about Krishna, like the most intriguing stories about Krishna for me are when he was a baby.
Okay.
Because it's so like out of this world, this, these big, powerful demons are coming to like try to do something to baby Krishna, and Krishna is like playing with them like dolls. And I don't know, I just find that like more exciting to me than like when he gets older for some reason, because it's almost like, he's like, he looks strong or whatever in my mind, but when he's a baby, it's just like so ridiculous. And so anyway, I was wondering, like, like all the demons that were like, coming,
Yeah,
they were all sent by Kamsa. Is that like Kamsa was like, he's like, he heard about Krishna and he's like, okay, I'll send this demon, I'll send this demon. So that's kind of the context, or were the demons just like, I heard about Krishna and I'm coming to, try to kill him because I don't, I'm a powerful demon, or were they all sent by Kamsa? That's a question I had. I wasn't sure about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
thanks for sharing and asking.
Yeah.
Bringing our mind to Krishna's pastimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's different ages like Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga, and there's different ages of Krishna. And one thing, what you shared, I appreciate what you shared, Buddha, like you're looking at different ages, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga, and you're looking at your own life. And I can look at my life, because we talk about like this 78%, and I would say it's pretty clear to me, but it's actually completely clear to me about like, and again, if it's not about right, wrong, moralizing, just certain things I could do that will cover the diamond, and I'll be less connected with those 78% qualities. And there's certain things I could do, such as this, Bhagavatam. There are things I can do, there are things I can think, certain sound vibrations I can expose myself to, and then I'm uncovering the diamond. I'm feeling alive to myself. And so it's just such a scientific process. It's, it's not even about like, should do this, shouldn't, just we have an experience, and it's like whether I'm in the process or not, I'm always validating and confirming the process given in Bhagavatam. Yeah, if I'm doing this, then I feel shame, loss to myself. And my understanding, of course, Krishna's pastimes are vast, even in the chapters of Krishna book, 89, 90 chapters. In a sense, that's just very partial. Right? Like, there's many in the childhood pastimes, many demons killed each day. We hear about a few here and there. My understanding about kind of like those babyhood, childhood, Vrindavan pastimes is like the Putna demon and the Shakatasura, Trinavarta and Dhenukasura, that they're sent by Kamsa, who was scared that Krishna would kill him, so I'm going to get him. Now, whether that are there no exceptions? I'm not sure about that, but more or less in the Vrindavan pastimes, the demons are friends or relatives of Kamsa. That's my understanding.
That's what gave him authority over them. Did he have authority over them? Is that like his position that
He had political power.
Oh, okay.
He had power. Yeah, just like Hiranyakashipu. We heard this Hiranyakashipu, the demigod. Narada Muni was offering obeisances to Hiranyakashipu. The demigods were scared, so he had put political power. Same with Ravana. So Kamsa, he had manipulative power, physical power. He was powerful. So not that they were devoted to him, but in the business relationship, like, yeah, we better follow him, and then we get a place in the kingdom, we get a place in the government, sort of thing. Hare Krishna. Anandini.
Hare Krishna. I appreciated the verse you chose. I have a special experience with this verse. Like throughout my life, it was never a question for me whether God exists. And when I came to know Krishna, I had a lot of doubts. Is this God?
Yeah.
Is this God? And then at one point, a few years ago, I was really quite in some distress with this question. And I woke up one morning with this verse, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam.
Wow.
So I must have heard it sometime, but not consciously. And so I woke up with this verse and I was repeating it, and I felt so much joy and so much excitement. And I went to look in Veda base. What is the verse? What does the verse mean? And so it took away a lot of my doubts.
Wow.
Yeah, like Krishna is God. So I appreciate remembering this experience. And I felt some fun when you said you were describing how Paramatma, or how Krishna is the source of Paramatma and Shiva is part of Paramatma. And I was thinking, okay, so like the whole universe, everything is just the source. The source is a teenager dancing.
A teenager dancing. That's
I connected with some appreciation for teenagers when you said that. Yeah, and also when you said we all want to enjoy, we are meant to enjoy. I find that such a I don't know the word, peaceful.
brings you peace. Brings
Brings me peace, yes. Like I spent the last 2 weeks on holiday, family holiday, and I enjoyed so much, like not being in everyday life, and we spent time by the sea and we met friends, and so there's so much enjoyment. And then there was a part of me that went, oh, but this is, like enjoying. And so yeah, we all want to enjoy. It's natural.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like not to feel shame to what to enjoy, and just like it's really about, let's be intelligent. Okay. How can I achieve real enjoyment, pure enjoyment, not just like a contaminated form, not just a temporary form. We want enjoyment that will increase and won't end. And so Vyasadeva in his compassion, Srila Prabhupada in his compassion is giving us, just try it. It doesn't cost anything. Try chanting Hare Krishna. Be happy.
Yeah, and here I have a question. I seem to remember that, I don't know where, but that maybe it's in Sri Ishopanishad, I don't know, but that material enjoyment and spiritual enjoyment or spiritual advancement doesn't go well together. And I have some questions around that. Why doesn't that go well together? Have I understood correctly? Or, like to go to the seaside, the ocean is so pacifying is the word, pacifying for me. Just so that's an enjoyment. Is it material, spiritual? I don't know what makes the difference. So here I have a question mark.
Okay. Well, first I'll share. I'm very moved. It made an impression on me. How this verse, Ete Chamsa Klapumsa, Krishnas tu Bhagavan Svayams, particularly that second line. Now, this verse appeared to you personally. Each verse is personal. So this verse appeared to you personally. Krishna appeared to you in the form of this verse. So that's very moving. Thanks for sharing. And yes, well, there's in purport, was it purport, the fifth canto? The more, Prabhupada says, the more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more one is entangled in material miseries. Also in the fifth canto, the fifth chapter, purport, sex pleasure and spiritual life go ill together. All of these non-politically correct sound bites from Srila Prabhupada. So yeah, so so the beach, Krishna says, I am the beach. He says, I am the ocean. So like, what are we defining as spiritual or material? Krishna says, Dharma Virito Bhuteshu Kamosmi Bharatarsha. Krishna says, I am sex pleasure. That's according to spiritual principles, right? So everything comes from Krishna. So whether something's material or spiritual, it's not about, oh, I went to the beach. It's like, what's my consciousness? What's my consciousness? So basically, so like that deep, ever increasing bliss of the soul. Okay, so that comes from ahituti vritti yatma supersediti that comes from that comes from unmotivated, uninterrupted service to Krishna. So that's it. That's the bliss of the soul. Unmotivated, uninterrupted service to Krishna. Now that service might sometimes be like, let's go to the ocean. I mean, it could look like that. It could let's care for our children. Let's go out on Harinam. It can look in so many forms, but that's the principle. Unmotivated, uninterested service to Krishna. Now, to whatever extent I have an addiction, an attachment to material pleasure, even sattvic material pleasure, that attachment, that addiction is going to interrupt and interfere with my steady, ever increasing loving service to Krishna. So in that sense, even if our material attachment is sattvic, it's going to interfere with the real transcendental bliss of the soul. But we don't want to be stereotyped about what's material and what's spiritual, right? Srila Prabhupada would go to the ocean, right? And he's deeply in Krishna conscious at every moment.
Charlie Chaplin's.
Yeah, he watched Charlie Chaplin.
Take walks in parks.
Take walks in parks. Yeah, it's
Recreation in moderation. is encouraged.
recreation. That's right there. Yeah. Yes. Right. So it's not like nature is material. What's our consciousness in appreciating nature?
Something about Juhu Beach. Seemed like something Juhu Beach, almost like
Yeah.
Like his mood there was just like, obviously fully transcendental, but it's just so much trouble.
Yeah, he would take walks there. He would take walks on Juhu Beach by the ocean, by the sea, and have these. He would have I would say he actually had like intense arguments with Dr. Patel. If you ever read them on Juhu Beach, they had a lot of affection for each other, and they would get. But like no, oftentimes the disciples on the walks, they wanted to like start chastising Patel, but Patel was kind of like Prabhupada's same age. And so Prabhupada, he was actually enjoying the fight. He was enjoying the fight. And but yeah, he would walk on Juhu Beach by the ocean. Very, very, very pleasing nature. Thanks for that.
That's the spirit of material achievements that need to be here tonight. Because from a point of view of the purity, we see everything spiritual.
Yeah.
There's nothing material.
That's it.
And like I was thinking like in the 111, they say about even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion as one is spiritual, as illusory representation of water seen in fire or land seen on water. It's just like, that sounds so helpless.
Yeah.
And hopeless also.
Yeah.
Because by him, the great sages, like we are not even small sages, we are not sages at all. And like even they are put into illusion,
Yeah.
and the demigods are put into illusion.
Yeah.
So what a great force Krishna is.
What a great force.
And there is no way we are going to fight Maya, because Maya is a great force of Krishna.
Yeah.
And he choose to put us in illusion, even by him, even the great sages.
Yeah.
That's quite intense. I was just thinking when you read that. When we have the show, we may remember Krishna, and we be very Krishna conscious while we do recreation. We may be completely put in illusion that this ocean and this beach is for my enjoyment. And then probably we will not enjoy that much.
Then we'll probably not enjoy that much because we're trying to squeeze out every drop of enjoyment.
Yeah.
Well-known verse in Bhagavad Gita.
Mm.
Devyesha gunamai, mama maya dhiratyaya, mame vaye prapajante maya metam tarantite. Krishna says, yeah, this material energy, which is, he says, mama maya, my material energy, like you got no chance, you're not going to overcome. He says, but one who surrenders unto me can easily cross over material energy. So great sages and demigods are just like, they're just completely bewildered by the material and by Krishna's material energy. Great sages. Now, Srila Prabhupada is far, far, far greater than those sages and demigods. Of course, today's special day, celebrate Krishna, and tomorrow's special day, celebrate Prabhupada. Still, this is an important point. So the pure devotee of Krishna is much, much greater than those demigods and those sages. Yeah, including Brahma. Because there's Brahma in his role of a demigod who gets confused, and there's Brahma in his role as the head of the Sampradaya. In different. So that's why it's like, as you said, we're just this insignificant, weak, helpless. What chance do I have? Same time, we take shelter of Prabhupada's guidance, and then we're protected from material energy because we're taking shelter in the interior energy. What's that?
In other areas. And then there's another question. When in the purpose to 128, how would I describe? And at first, when you describe like, okay, there's Brahma was almost 78%.
Yeah,
And then after there is human beings, they don't have like
covered.
cover, but. And in the letter on this, about the human being can come to the 78% too by pure devotional service. And it could be confusing in some ways because like the soul, the jiva soul, the soul within this body could be Brahma, it could be completely realized, and the soul has a 78%, and the soul cannot have more than 78%.
Right.
So it's not the covering who has 78%, or not 78%. But the 78% can be covered.
Right.
Just the way it was expressed.
The way it's expressed.
Was, but Srila Prabhupada can go further and make it clear.
Makes it clear. Yeah. But the Jiva soul, us, we have in potential 78%. Maybe we were a Brahma previously, and so like Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Jesus, they got their 78% fully manifest. So we have that in potential, and to uncover that potential, the process of self-realization and bhakti yoga is recommended. Thank you, Malini. Anandini.
So you said Srila Prabhupada is greater than Brahma. So does he have more than 78, more than Brahmas?
Okay.
Or is that something else? Is it?
No, okay. Well, that's why in a side comment, I get there's different facets to Brahma. So Brahma's the first Acharya in the list of 32, and Prabhupada's 32. So all the Acharyas, they're fully radiant in the 78%. So there's Brahma in his capacity as the head of our Sampradaya. So in that sense, Brahma and Prabhupada are equal. Then, and we hear about Brahma as the head of our Sampradaya, 78 fully shining, 78% fully pure devotee of Krishna. Then sometimes we hear about Brahma in his capacity as a demigod, the head demigod. When his capacity as a demigod, then some of that 78% is covered. He gets bewildered. He tries to trick Krishna. He steals the cowherd boys. He's
afraid of demons.
Yeah, he's afraid of demons. He gets attracted to sex life. And so Brahma, it can be complex, but basically what helps me to understand, there's Brahma as the demigod, and then there's Brahma as the pure devotee head of our Sampradaya. So we're talking about Brahma as the demigod. Yeah, Prabhupada is greater. Brahma heads our Sampradaya, okay, then he's fully shining in the 78% like Prabhupada. Thank you. Thank you all. Shri Krsna Janmastami ki.
Jai.
Lord Shri Krishna ki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.